Well, okay. So I just want to say this, and again, I appreciate all the time. If your listeners take nothing else away from this podcast, I hope that they could just listen to this last piece and really take it in. Because the majority of people I'm working with, what's holding them back is fear. So the question is, what are we really afraid of? I think most people think they're afraid of the future, right? Maybe that call on Monday with your boss or a client or whatever it may be. But that's not actually what they're afraid of. What they're really afraid of is how they think the future will make them feel, how the future is going to make them feel. So when I'm working with clients and they say things like, well, what if this goes wrong? What if I fail? What if I lose this person or this job? It could sound like fear of the event, but if you slow it down, that's not what's happening. The mind isn't actually afraid of the event itself. It's afraid of the emotional state it expects the event to produce. Right? What am I going to feel like if this happens? Shame, grief, panic, helplessness, loss of control. But even more specifically, the fear is, what if I feel that and I can't handle it? Are you tracking? Right? What if I feel that and I can't handle that? See, the nervous system doesn't imagine the future creatively. It predicts the future based on the past. And, so when a future scenario comes up, the body checks its history and says, well, last time something like this happened, it felt overwhelming. And for days I felt it. Or last time I didn't have the resources, or last time it just hurt too much. And then it labels the future as dangerous, even though it hasn't happened. That call with the client hasn't happened. That meeting with the boss hasn't happened. That family event hasn't happened, right? So fear isn't really about the unknown. It's about the belief that certain emotions are unsafe, or even more importantly, or equally as importantly, uncontrollable. And I think this is also why control becomes so important for people. If I can control outcomes, maybe I can control how I feel. If I can avoid certain situations, which is a big one, maybe I can avoid certain emotions. Why do you think people are more isolated now than ever? It's safer to stay at home and watch Netflix than go out and interact with other humans. That's not freedom. That's management, right? Real freedom doesn't come from controlling the future. It comes from discovering it in the body, not intellectually, but in the body, that emotions can arise, move through, and pass without defining you, without destroying you. And when I'm working with folks and they start realizing I can feel fear without becoming it, without collapsing into it, right? Fear loses most of its power. So again, if you're listening, the invitation would be, if you're feeling stuck or afraid, it's worth asking, what emotion am I trying to avoid, right? Forget about the event, but what emotion tied to the event am I trying to avoid? And again, not because something's wrong, because there's something here that wants to be met rather than controlled. And once emotions are allowed to move, the future doesn't look nearly as threatening. I hope that makes sense. And I hope people really take that in and it helps you.